Welcome to the Private Practice Startup Podcast, where we help ambitious private practitioners across the globe to brand themselves and grow their dream practices. We chat with successful private practitioners, business coaches, and marketing experts, bringing you tons of practice building ninja tips. Visit privatepracticestartup.com for awesome resources, attorney-approved private practice paperwork, and our signature marketing e-course. Here are your co-hosts, Dr. Kate Campbell and Katie Lemieux. Hey there, Startup Nation. Welcome back to another episode of the Private Practice Startup Podcast. We are glad you're here. I'm excited about today's topic. I always love talking about hiring, outsourcing, creating a team, finding really cool people. So our guest today is Tony Mataya of WizeHire, and we're going to be talking about 6 tips for hiring people that grow your business. I really like that topic. But before we dive into the topic and before I introduce Tony, we hope that you guys join us last week as we talked to my personal friend and colleague, but also one of our coaching alumni, Roberta Alves, and we talked about her success story and where she is now. And I have to tell you, she's a hoot. It was a delight and pleasure, and she really talks about how her own desire for gift giving is one of her greatest marketing strategies. So you guys will have to check that out. If you're brand new to our podcast, we want to say thank you for deciding to listen to this podcast, and we hope that you become a longtime listener. And for joining our podcast, we want to welcome you to the family. And we're a family that likes to give gifts, and we have a gift for you. And that is our attorney-approved customizable HIPAA form for free. Like it or not, we have to do paperwork as therapists. I know it is a struggle, but it's the reality. So grab that at privatepracticestartup.com. Check out the resources tab, and there you will see it. And feel free to take advantage of whatever else you see there that suits your private practice needs. A little bit about Tony. Tony is the VP of Growth at WizeHire, where he oversees marketing, sales, and parts of their product. He lives in Dallas, Texas, with his wife and 10-year-old golden doodle, Dhalia. See, Tony and I were talking about this before. I'm like, even though I assured that I got all the information correct, I'm going to mess something up. And there you go. And he and his spouse are expecting their first child this year. So that is very exciting. Interesting fact about Tony, he has 80 houseplants and loves learning about leadership and soft skills in the workplace. Welcome, Tony.
Hi, y'all. Thanks for having me. So much fun. And I will tell you, I'm looking at Dhalia right now. She appreciates it.
The shout out. Awesome.
80 houseplants. I have 0 because I don't know how to keep houseplants alive.
Yeah, well, it's very similar to hiring. It's that's one of the things that helps me is learning multiple things at once. But yeah, it is. Plants are. There's so much information. It can be daunting.
Interesting. So I love the analogy. You have to share a little bit about that.
Oh, for sure. Well, yeah, we'll get into that for sure.
Oh, perfect. Okay, fantastic. So we always just really like to kind of start with your story, Tony. You know, what brought you to WizeHire? You know, why you're interested in helping people find great people to work for them and grow their business. Share with us a little bit.
Sure. So I started there in 2017. So I've been with the company for a few years now. And before that, I spent 6 years doing marketing at a company called Twilio. And so I did a range of things. I did, grassroots marketing. I did digital marketing, and started to get more exposure into products and software. And so a friend of mine from college reached out and said, hey, I have this HR tech company. I'm really excited about it. I think you'd be interested. And so what attracted me to it is, before what we were doing is trying to make telecom more accessible for the average person or the average developer so that they could integrate SMS or voice into their applications. And that just unlocks so many things for businesses. I kind of saw the same parallels with hiring. There's so much complexity, and the average small business owner doesn't have the time to navigate the long and stressful hiring process. So I talk to small business leaders all the time, and what happens is they get frustrated, they hire someone out of convenience, or they put off hiring that may have made sense for them, or someone that they needed yesterday. And so our platform tries to do all of the heavy lifting so that, great jobs shine. We view a lot of the hiring as a great opportunity. The small business leaders have a ton to teach, and they pour so much into the people they manage. So we try to help the job ads look great and find candidates that they wouldn't have seen otherwise. That's kind of how I arrived at WizeHire.
Nice. And I really love, Kate and I really both love what you guys do at WizeHire and how you use the DISC personality profile. I know that you have like a brand assessment or something like that as well. And, just really in alignment to what Kate and I believe and what we teach. And when you hire someone in the right way, if you will, like usually they're kind of lifelong unless their journey goes somewhere else. But, the experience is often being able to have such a great quality relationship, and they're working in their kind of natural talents and things like that. So I'm excited to really talk about your topic today. But before we dive in, let's just take a quick moment for our sponsor.
Okay, guys, it's sponsor time. You know what? Instead of reading a script about Gusto's payroll and benefits, we wanted to tell you what small business owners say, the people who use Gusto every day. Here's what one small business owner says. With Gusto, I think of payroll as a 30-second job. The website is so friendly and a joy to use. Friendly payroll? You don't hear that every day. And how about Amy from Utah? Amy says, I love Gusto so much. It's so painless. It's like going to the spa, and we have great options and rates even though we're a super small team. Like going to the spa? Wow. And here's what Mneet says about Gusto's support team. Whenever something comes up, I reach out, and literally 24 hours later, they tell us what to do or assure us that we've already handled it. Smart technology and friendly humans, that's super cool. Honestly, the list goes on, and right now our listeners get 3 months free when they go to gusto.com/PPS. Yep, 3 months of payroll, benefits, administration, and more, totally free. Again, that's gusto.com/PPS.
How many times have you responded to a client on Psychology Today only to hear that they contacted 20 other providers so they won't work with you? It's frustrating. The truth is that White Pages style directories leave both clients and counselors feeling burned. We want to make therapy better for everyone involved, and that's why we made Thrivelution. Thrivelution is a revolutionary matching system based on the idea that therapy is most effective when the match between therapist and client is high quality. We provide your practice with quality, low-cost client referrals that are matched with you and only you in seconds. If you're ready to get more clients, sign up with our exclusive promo code for 1 month free of matches at thrivelution.com. The promo code is MATCH21. That's MATCH21 at thrivelution.com.
All right, Tony, where do you want to start on this 6 tips for hiring people that grow your business?
Good question. So I'd love to start, and start at the beginning. Because to me, I think when you're talking about hiring, I'm a firm believer it's a case-by-case basis. There's a lot of techniques and fundamentals that I think are important, but ultimately it's about the individual and what they want to do. So my first tip for how to approach hiring is be really firm on who you are and know where you want to go. And so the first step of being firm on who you are, and, to me, as I was, thinking about this last night, I kind of arrived at this. It's like, you have to, one way to think about it is you're hiring yourself every day. And you should think about how to manage yourself, right? So that's one way you can look at this is, hey, how am I managing myself? How am I taking care of myself? And so I think there's some tactical things that you can do to be really firm on who you are. You mentioned the DISC assessment, so that can be one thing that you can do, or other personality assessments that you like, to just figure out where are your strengths. What do you bring to the business that sets it up for success. And I'm a high D, very decisive as an executive. I am finding more and more that the people that are more patient really help balance me out, right? And sometimes I need to check myself and also be patient. The other thing is, where are you going? What's the mission and the vision for your business? And there's an article that I really like from a fellow entrepreneur, the CEO of Know Your Team. And she has this great framework for thinking about a mission statement. I'm such a huge fan. She talks about the mission as being she talks about the vision as being a place. So picture a place, and start there and think about, okay, where do you want to see the future? What do you want to see in the future? So imagine. This is what I came up with for WizeHire. So imagine a world where more people succeed in the job market. So now you have this place, this future that's different from the present. And then the mission statement is something that you achieve en route to that destination. So, WizeHire's mission is that we want to seamlessly connect businesses to talent. So if we are in that destination of more people are succeeding in the job market, then, we've probably done a better job of connecting businesses to talent. And how you get there are the core values, the brands, your brand, what you stand for. That's kind of what puts fuel in the tank to help you get to that place.
As you're talking, this makes me feel and I'm sure Kate too, because we have the same brain. It makes us feel like so ooey gooey, like you just speak our language.
Yes.
And, we constantly talk about is like when you're clear on who you are, your vision, mission, your values, but also your culture, making decisions about your business and also who to bring in or not, it actually becomes easy. It's no longer about like, oh, should I really hire my friend's daughter? I know she needs a job, but I'm not sure. And then you do it out of guilt. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Yeah. I also wanted to comment on this concept that you brought up a few moments ago about thinking about yourself as an employee. So many therapists try to DIY everything. We were talking about this earlier today on a different podcast. And it's just, if you think about yourself as an employee, would you treat yourself the way that you're treating employees? Do you treat yourself like you would treat employees? Are you giving yourself enough balance, enough time off? Are you paying yourself enough? Are you taking care of your health in the way that you would want your employee to take care of themselves? And if you're trying to do everything yourself and not outsourcing and delegating to other people, you're going to be running yourself ragged in the business and not able to build and grow the business to move it forward. So, and you're going to burn out because there's only enough time in the day. So to be able to, I just like how you talked about that. It's a different way of thinking about it. And I thought it was a really cool concept.
Yeah, absolutely. And on a day-to-day basis, it's hard. I love talking about hiring, right? It's so emotional. There's so much, it's so much more art than science. And I think one thing to think about, it's like same thing with your spouse, right? If you're not accepting love for yourself, if you're not affirming yourself, it's hard to be there for someone else, right? So the same principles apply.
Nice. What's your next tip?
Yeah. So, and one thing that I also wanted to do a quick plug to think about, because I come from a marketing background. I think another thing to do, and these things are hard. It sounds easy. Yes, the mission statement. I love trying to make these things more practical. When you're thinking about your brand and what you want to build and what that vision is, I'm a big fan of the brand personality spectrum. So that's something maybe we can include in the show notes. But I like keep it simple, and it's a very simple exercise where you just put brand attributes that are opposite of each other. So modern and high tech, classic and traditional. Are you more cutting edge? Are you established? Do you want your brand to be more fun or more serious? And you just drag a dot on where you fit, and maybe ask your spouse or someone that to draw a dot and see where you all align. And that way you have something super simple that's like, hey, this is a super subjective thing, branding. Now we've made it objective, right? We know what we aren't, we know what we are. So that can be another thing that can help you get into the right mindset. So once we have that down, it's important to know who you need to get you there. So if you know where you want to go and you know what that vision is, it's important to think about who you need around you. And of course, I think one of the books that I started with was the E-Myth. It's so great, especially for managing yourself, to be able to compartmentalize things and understand you have 3 personalities as an entrepreneur. You have the technician who is really great at what you do, and you have the manager who's trying to make the trains run on time, and you have the visionary who's thinking 3-4 years ahead, right? Maybe thinking about your long-term goals. So the second thing is you have to start know your numbers. So what are the key drivers for growth and sustainability in your business? I was listening to a previous podcast where you all were talking about how maybe don't take insurances and increase your fee as just some ways to understand your numbers and know what you need to do. And then it goes back to what you were saying, right? Start with the life you want to create. So thinking about what do you want to do for retirement and starting with the numbers to know, okay, where do I need to go? I've got the vision. I've got that stuff. Tactically, where do I need to go? And, Katie, you mentioned your spouse is a real estate agent, and we work with a lot of real estate agents. And just to give you all a concrete example of this, of knowing your numbers, when you're a real estate agent, there's really no difference in income that you earn with whether it's a deal that's you're helping someone buy a house, you're helping someone sell a house. What separates the two is the amount of time necessary to work them. It takes a lot more time to help someone buy a house than sell a house. So those are those things where you have to start understanding the time and the numbers, and where you're going to see your growth drivers and where your time's going. So I think that's a crucial thing where you have to start is knowing your numbers.
Tony, I'm really enjoying this podcast. It's interesting because maybe people were like, oh yeah, great. Some tips and tools and strategies. And what I find often, and this continuously resounding message, is it takes a lot of work on yourself first, right? Being clear about who you are, who you serve, what you do. And I know that's what Kate, it's funny because you're talking about a lot of things and I'm like, you're talking about our e-course, all the things that you're saying. And I also love the new exercises. I've never looked at brand attributes that way. That's funny. Kate and I used to do a supervision course, and we use something exactly similar to talk about your supervision style, right? Are you more passive? Are you more active? So that was interesting. Before we continue,
is that like a vision board, or what is that?
I don't even know where we had gotten the exercise from, but it was helping, therapists understand either the difference between their therapeutic style and supervisory style, what's different, what's the same, and they would just explore that. So then they could communicate it, right? Because when someone is looking for a certain supervisor, they're being able to communicate that. But I haven't heard that to utilize with brand attributes. So, did you mention you have an exercise, or you're just kind of saying this type of exercise?
Yes, I have an exercise. I'll send it over. And,
yes.
Oh, that would be great.
That would be phenomenal.
We can include it in the show notes page as well.
And I'm totally doing it. So before we go to the next tip, let's just take a quick moment for our sponsor.
Is managing your practice stressing you out? Try Therapy Notes. It makes billing, notes, scheduling, and telehealth a whole lot easier. Check it out, and you will quickly see why it's rated the highest EHR on Trustpilot with over 1,000 verified customer reviews and an average customer rating of 4.9 or 5 stars. You'll notice the difference from the first day you sign up for the trial. They offer live phone support 7 days a week. So when you have questions, you can quickly reach someone who can help. You are never wasting time looking for answers. If you're coming from another EHR, they make the transition really easy. Therapy Notes will import your client's demographic data free of charge during your trial so you can get going right away. Use the promo code PPS to get your first 2 months for free, or try out Therapy Notes for free, no strings attached, including their very reliable telehealth platform. Make 2021 the best year yet with Therapy Notes.
What's our next tip?
Sure. So I think the next tip is starting and going back one more thing with the knowing where you need to go. The one thing I suggest everyone to think about, and I spend a lot of time thinking about real estate, is thinking about levels of that vision and starting with, okay, who's that first person I want, and what's that benchmark in terms of revenue growth? So there's a really great book called Millionaire Real Estate Agent that I highly encourage people to read. There's so many. I don't work in real estate. We serve real estate agents and other entrepreneurs. But I've learned so much from other practices. I was looking through y'all's bookshelf. I may have to read one of those as well. And one of the things they talk about is, what's that first level, and red light, green light, yellow light. So when do you know you're ready to hire? Have that green light number based on your financial forecast, and then know you're ready to go to that step 2. So the next tip is make a scorecard or a job description or something that helps you get clarity on what that dream person looks like to get you to that first level of income or whatever the goal is. Or maybe it's that second level or that third level, whatever that plan is. And some tips there, because I know job descriptions can be quite the chore. There's some tactical things that I think can help you get clarity on that. Is think about the mission statement for the role. Kind of the same thing. It's like, what's that future that this person's going to help me unlock? What's that goal that this person's going to help me unlock? And outline some specific performance standards and think about that. So think about the output of what the outputs that this person's going to do, and keep them simple. Maybe make them like a customer satisfaction thing or something like that, where you can measure it. Think about their DISC profile and how they're going to complement you. And then, mapping out your core values, as we talked about. And this is something I'm really intrigued with, because I love talking with you all, because I think you all will appreciate this. But core values to me, spending time in San Francisco and Silicon Valley, I just looked around and I was like, where is all this coming from? Like, what are the objective standards for core values? And as I spent a long time looking into them, and what I really unpacked was that it's really just character traits, right? And a lot of what I've observed, and I've learned a lot from John Gottman and Angela Duckworth and all these people that are really pioneers in terms of SEL. And that's some of the things that I think you can, as if you're building a therapist practice, you can fall back on, is you all know so much of this stuff. So, thinking about character and core values is 3 things: strengths of heart, so interpersonal strengths, strengths of will, so intrapersonal strengths, and then strengths of mind, intellectual strengths. And there's a great resource I recommend everyone check out called Character Lab, and they have a whole bunch of character traits that are mapped out and defined. So that can give you more of a just button push approach to thinking about core values. Is what are these character traits that are really important? I like to say someone should complement your strengths but align on values. So you have to figure out what those values are that you share, and especially if you're going to be bringing on a partner, that's very scary, right? You don't want them. Especially if you're going to be sharing clients, that can be very scary and daunting. So if you have to find those common ground where there is no compromise, right? Like, we are going to be a compassionate organization. That's what this business is built on. So understanding those things, I think character traits is a great place to start. It's a good foundation.
Nice. I'm just enjoying everything that you're talking about, and learning a lot. And when you said SEL, I'm not familiar with the acronym.
Oh, social emotional learning.
Oh, okay. Very well. Yes. Now I'm familiar. I just don't think I ever use SEL.
I think it's more of a K through 12 terminology. I'm not sure if therapists use it, but I know it's influenced by behavioral science research, right?
Yeah. So where does that bring us to next in the hiring process?
Sure. And so if you've got this, you've done the work on yourself, and you have a vision, and you've put together a job description or something that helps you understand who you're looking for, attract the best talent. And, one thing I think about is a lot of people come to job sites and they look at it as like a lead generation service, right? Like, right, well, who are you going to bring me? But one thing to keep in mind is, people are going to Google you. If you post an ad, people are going to Google you. So what are they going to see when they research you online? So that's an important thing to think about. What's your website say about what it may look like to work here? What is the About Us page? I think you all do a great job of from a marketing perspective of making story a big part of your marketing materials. People want that story. Yeah.
Thanks. That means a lot. Always from a marketing person,
Oh, of course. And that's a lot of hard work, right? It's a lot of thought. And then you obviously have to figure out the copywriting too. So I think that's a big thing to think about is, showing off your culture. Another thing I like to talk about that just, at the end of the day, what you want is to come in and have someone super motivated to work as hard as you work. So think about Facebook's HR team did some great research. I love, simple frameworks, and they looked at all the text entry responses from their employee surveys about what motivates them to work at Facebook. And what they found was 3 universal things they call the 3 C's: career, cause, and community. So career, right? That's like at the heart of intrinsic motivation. So, how much am I going to get paid? What is my career growth? How am I? What's that going to look like? The cause, which goes back to people are motivated to work on something bigger than themselves. So that's why that vision is so important. And then community, right? We all strive for a sense of belonging. So does this look like, somewhere where the founders, like each other, there's stability, they complement each other? Or, if you're a solopreneur, do you have a good sense of that this person connects well with their clients and their community? That's super important. And it's similar to plants, right? Plants need sunlight and water and the right soil. And so where you put the plant is crucial. And then how consistent you are with watering is super consistent. So I like to, stack those things and think about that, right? It seems like I hear all the time, I don't want to babysit people. Like, that's why I don't want to hire. And it's like, it's the same thing with plants, right? I'm not a green thumb. It's like, really, you just have to get those 3 fundamentals down and motivate people, to motivate themselves.
That's so interesting. I love that you did bring it back around. And it's also interesting because when we look at plants, like I said, I don't have any plants because I don't have a green thumb. But the reality is that some plants take a little bit of water, some take a lot, some need more sunlight, some don't, some need, and it's interesting and it's very similar to, people. And I think it's also the leader's job is to know how that person is motivated and inspired and what works for them. And is it words of affirmation or acknowledgement, or is it more space and freedom and trust? And as a leader, you have to be willing to be able to kind of be a chameleon within that to understand each of your team members and what helps them and what they need. I had it was a pleasure. I was promoted into management at a very young age because, of course, I was a good worker. That's how people are usually promoted. But I really did a lot of self-work to become a great leader. And, the teams that I ran, we had so much fun. And, you talk about causes, we're community mental health. And they're making maybe $32,000 a year. And, that's not really why they're there. And so I would always assure with my team members and that it was always for something more. And what are they up to? What's the bigger picture? And we'd work on that stuff too, not just what we were up to. And knowing, some people needed a little more hand-holding, and one of my staff is always going to interrupt the meeting that I'm having because that's just what she does. So we would just laugh at it. You know what I mean? So I think it's really important, if you are in the process of thinking about hiring or really improving your leadership skills, I definitely would say, doing work on the leader is super important.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And you mentioned that story. I think another thing in terms of career is making sure you're giving people feedback too. So if you're listening to this and you have people on your staff already, feedback is so crucial. So if you have someone that's interrupting meetings, it can be challenging or scary to tell them to not do that. But that can be another thing where you can think about is like even in the interview process. A lot of what I say is, hey, think about you're asking questions to figure out what you need to work on once they're hiring, like if they're interrupting you or, they're giving you one-word answers. Those are things where like you said, I think the self-work and figuring out how to give feedback and how to nurture those 3 C's is crucial.
Yeah, one of the things that Kate and I do when we meet with our virtual assistant who's in Africa, our questions to her is what's working, what's not working, what do we need to do better? And we're always looking for feedback because Kate and I really believe it's like the system, and the system is the feedback. And it's not her, it's not necessarily us. It just might be systemically something's not working, and we look to change it and fix it. And one thing that Kate and I found out 3 years later by asking this one simple question is, what are your other like superhero talents and strengths? And our assistant comes from an accounting background, and she's like, I love reports and spreadsheets. And we're like, why didn't we ask this like a long time ago? So like immediately we're like, fantastic, please do all these reports, because we're not always having time to get to the numbers, even though we want to. And it's amazing, you know what I mean? And it makes it easy for us. And, so asking those questions is really important.
I do want to call you out, because that's something rare. I find like people skip that with virtual assistants, and that can have a big impact. So you all are doing the right stuff with it doesn't take that much time, right? 30 minutes a month or something like that. One session a quarter. The VAs or if you have somebody that's doing lead generation and building lists, they're humans, right? They want a sense of belonging as well. So it's so great that y'all do that. And obviously it's an immediate impact, right? You can figure out, oh, wow, this reporting is now off our plate. Like, fantastic.
Yeah. And it is important. And, I know like even one time when we had asked her, like she was doing like video editing, and she's like, I just don't have enough space on my computer. And I was like, oh, perfect. We'll just get you an external hard drive. No problem. Like it just becomes that easy to make people do their job more effectively and for them to feel supported. And Kate and I love giving surprise bonuses. That is like one of our favorite things.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially at the year end. It's great. It's
all year.
I was going to say, we do it all the time.
We love it. It brings us joy.
How do y'all come up with those?
When I had gone to guerrilla business training or whatever, and someone had said, don't always keep increasing the dollar amount that you're paying your person, is giving them bonuses for work done. And so when she does like really cool stuff, like Kate and I will kind of talk on the background and be like, we should bonus her for this or for this behavior. Cause sometimes like we have like affiliates, and it's like, well, we're doing that for them. How can we incorporate that and do that for her? So it's a little something extra and motivating. There are certain things that we bonus for anyways, but a lot of times it will be like surprise stuff. So.
Neat. I think, my wife is a family law attorney, and they do similar things. Yeah, I think y'all you're right. I'm gonna chew on that, because I think you can do it for billing, right? If you bill the most, you can do a bonus on that, and then or lead generation, hygiene. There's tons of things. I think that do it. Yeah. So I think you're right. It should be more of a recurring thing than just an annual thing.
Yeah, I would just say, and I'm just gonna throw this caveat out there just because of our audience, right, is like, then we have to just kind of be clear that we're not like bonusing and giving monies for bringing in folks, right? Because that would obviously be against our ethics. But there's other ways to do bonuses, and it could be a team bonus, and there's so many fun ways. And, Kate has an amazing group practice. So if y'all have any questions or need ideas, she can definitely share with you.
I do a very similar thing with our client care coordinator and assistant at the office, giving bonuses and looking for creative ways so that she feels supported and just knows how much we care about her, because she cares so much about us, and she is the key to our whole system working and everything being so seamless. So to keep people like that in their role and to keep them happy and fulfilled and thriving, and it's priceless. It really is. And it's so meaningful to be able to do so. Yeah, I'm just loving this conversation all around.
Me
I feel
too.
like we could talk for days with you about this stuff, Tony. And I know we've talked about some other really cool ways of collaborating with you at WizeHire and potentially doing a webinar and all sorts of things like that. So stay tuned, Startup Nation, because Tony's got great stuff, and we hope you're enjoying this episode as much as we are. Tony, what do you want our audience to take away from your message today?
Sure. I think the one thing I try and get people to think about is making those 3 C's, just putting them to memory. and constantly thinking about that, because I think that can be the guidance throughout the process. As you're writing your job ad, thinking about, is this advertisement appealing to those three things? Does it seem like something, remember, it's an advertisement, it's not a description. People get those mixed up. So is this something that's going to appeal to those three C's and get talented people excited to apply? And then, can you motivate them? So when you're motivating them, are you following those three things and doing things on a regular basis so that they're motivated and you're happy and there's a good relationship? So the three C's, I would try and remember those: career, cause, and community.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And I know that you guys have a giveaway for our audience. What is that?
Yes, so we are going to give away a free hiring strategy session. So if you all, we have a link. If you go to WizeHire.com/PPS, you can, it's right there on the page. You can click it and we'll give you lots of tips and guidance, whatever your situation is, whatever you're trying to hire.
And if you guys are just kind of like jumping on the internet, it's Wise with a Z as in zebra. So just wanted to mention that. Thank you so much, Tony. I know, like Kate said, I know that we kind of got off in different directions talking about hiring because it is really such an important topic and a topic close to our hearts. And we just love what you guys do at WizeHire. I mean, it's amazing. I mean, what you all have created and how you hire and, so definitely check it out and see how they can help you guys hire your next team member, your assistant, or whoever it is that you guys are looking for. And we hope that you guys join us next week as Kate and I invite another one of our coaching alumni to share her success story, and that's Amber Joyce. It's amazing what this single mom of 3 has accomplished in 8 years. I'm blown away, and we see great and big things for her on the horizon. So check that story of hope and inspiration and motivation and authenticity out.
Absolutely. And let's take a quick moment for our Startup Nation superhero shout out. And this comes from Lauren Ross. Lauren says, I've been following Kate and Katie for at least a year and a half. And as a clinician and business owner, I value their expertise and simplicity in translating information with quick and easy steps. I reached out to received a response and personal help quickly, which was not only extremely helpful, but very much appreciated to receive in a busy day. I've known them for so long, it was like having a personal response from a local celebrity. Thank you, Kate and Katie, for supporting my business from afar and helping me feel I'm not so alone in entrepreneurship. Lauren, we wish you the best. Thank you so much for sharing that with us, and we are cheering you on every step along the way. And Startup Nation, if you're enjoying these episodes, let us know. We'd love for you to subscribe, rate, and review our show, share with your friends and fellow colleagues. And if there's a topic that you have not heard us talk about yet, or you would love to be a guest on the podcast, definitely let us know that too. You can always email us, and we love to hear from you. So in the meantime, stay inspired, and we will see you on the next episode. Thanks again, Tony.
Thank you all for having me.
Bye, everybody.
Take care.
Thanks for joining us on The Private Practice Startup. Visit theprivatepracticestartup.com for awesome resources, free trainings, attorney-approved private practice paperwork, and so much more.